Hello again, welcome back to the PhatPhish Guitar Studio, and I think this is probably the first video of the new year, so welcome to 2015 as well. Today I'm going to be answering a question that I got sent by a lad called Dave, who's having a problem with a Strat style trem. Now I didn't print his question out, but the basic gist was put a new set of strings on the guitar, and the trem system, instead of lying like it used to, now looks like it's kind of being pushed all the way down, so it's like lifting out of the body. Instead of looking like that, it's actually looking more like that, like the trem arm's actually being pushed down, but under normal use when there's no pushing down of the arms, just the strings that are pulling the trem down. Now the good news is it's probably not a fault with the tremolo system itself. Fairly confident in that because he said that the problem came when he changed strings. Now this is a problem I had myself on my first electric guitar that had a tremolo system on it. I changed strings and I changed string gauges, and that made the setup on the trem go all a bit weird. But before we get into the workings of how the trem works, let's talk quickly about string gauges. Now there's three factors which affect the pitch that you get from a string. First one is the string length. Now that's a fairly obvious one, because if you think you've got an open string, where you're running the length of the string from here all the way down to here, you get a note. If you shorten the string by fretting it, you get a higher note. Further up the neck you go, the shorter you make the string, the higher pitched note you get. That kind of makes sense, yeah? Now you also know that the tension in the string makes a difference to the pitch. You know that because when you're tuning your guitar, if the string is too low a pitch, you turn the tuning peg to tighten it to make the pitch higher, or if the string's too high, you turn the tuning peg to release the tension to make the pitch of the string lower. So that's the second factor, the tension. And the third factor which comes into play is the thickness of the string, what we call the string gauge. And if you look at your guitar, you've got 6 strings, all the same length, give or take a millimetre for intonation. But as you go down from the top string to the bottom string, you get lower notes, and the difference is the strings are thicker. So for the same length of string with pretty much the same sort of tension, you get a lower note because there's a thicker string, and the thicker the string, the lower the note. The thinner the string, the higher the note. So you get your guitar and it's all set up and lovely and it's playing nicely, and you will have it set up with what's called a particular gauge of string. Now this guitar is set up with a set of 9 to 42s. So what that means is on the top string is 9 thousandths of an inch in diameter, going down through the gauges 11, 16, 24, 32, 42 thousandths of an inch diameter on the bottom string. And the guitar is set up in such a way that when the guitar's in tune, the tremolo system's got a little bit of play up over, and obviously I can push the trem down to lower the pitch of the string. So let's have a look now at how the tremolo system itself actually works. So if you've got a guitar like this, like a Stratocaster style, same principle applies to things like Floyd Rose trems, like got on the Thompson there, but we're going to use the Strat as the example because that's the same sort of guitar that the questioner has. On the front of the guitar you've got the tremolo bit here. If you flip the guitar over, there's this cover plate. Now let's get the guitar onto the bench, we'll take that cover plate off and show you what's inside and explain how the tremolo system itself actually works. Okay, so here we've got the guitar face down, and what we're going to have to do is undo these screws. Use the right screw driver for the screw head. In this case it's a number 1 Phillips. If you don't use the right size screwdriver, you run the risk that this screwdriver is going to slip and damage the finish on the guitar, which you don't want to have happen. So just take the screws out, put them somewhere safe. plate off, and here we can see the inside of the tremolo cavity. Okay, so with the cover off we can see the inside here. This is the tremolo block, which the strings go through, and it's attached to the bridge plate on the top of the guitar. Got these springs, and it's the tension in these springs which balances against the tension in the strings to allow the tremolo to float. And they're attached to this thing which is called the claw, which is screwed into the guitar body. Now these screws do actually are adjustable, so you can move the claw forwards or backwards to effectively shorten or lengthen the spring slightly to adjust the tension slightly. But if you need to, that you've got capacity on the claw and holds in the tremolo block here for up to 5 springs. If you need a lot of tension, if you want to pull the tremolo flat to the body, put 5 springs on. If you want it to float, in this case I've got 3. With a lighter gauge string you might just want 2 springs in there. But it's all a case of having these springs balancing the tension of the strings to get the tremolo set up right. So as you can see, it's all a bit of a balancing act between the tension in the strings and the tension in the springs in the tremolo cavity around the back. Now in the case of our questioner, I suspect what he's done is he's changed string gauges as well as just changing the strings. I suspect possibly he's gone from like a set of 9s down to a set of 10s. So if you think about it, you've got the same length of string, but because the strings that are on the guitar now are thicker, needs more tension to get to the same pitch. And what that's doing is it's pulling extra tension in the string, fighting against the springs in the tremolo cavity, and having the effect of like the tremolo arm being pushed down, and that's why the trem's sticking up out of the body. So like I say, it's a bit of a balancing act, but it's easy enough to fix. It's just a case of taking that back cover off, and either, depending on the amount that the tremolo is moving by, either adding a spring or just tightening the screws for that claw to make the spring length effectively longer, so there'll be more tension inside the tremolo cavity to balance out against the tension in the strings. Now this is the sort of thing you can do yourself, but if you're not confident about it, you can take the guitar to your local guitar store, and the luthier there should be able to do it for probably not a whole lot of money. It's not a particularly time consuming thing to do, just a case of getting an extra spring on or tightening up the spring claw, retuning the guitar and checking the intonation. Shouldn't take them too long. But if you can maintain your guitar yourself, it's always good to be able to do running repairs and so on yourself. And in this case, the questioner had the problem whereby the tension in the strings was pulling the tremolo out of the guitar body. You could have the inverse problem, where if the guitar was set up with a heavier gauge string and you swap to something lighter, then the tension in the springs is going to be pulling back. So if your guitar is normally set with the tremolo floating, so you've got a bit of upward movement, and you change to a lighter gauge string, then the springs are going to pull the tremolo flat against the body and it won't float anymore, and you won't have the upward movement. The remedy's similar, it's the inverse. You need less tension in the spring, so it's a case of taking the spring out or loosening off the claw, shortening the spring length to reduce the tension, so it balances against the tension in the springs. Okay, so hopefully Dave, who asked the question, that's put your mind at ease that your guitar is not broken. It's just a little setup issue that you can address yourself. Hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye for now.